Oh, hey, sorry. I keep forgetting. I have a big screen. I don't have a camera on it. Sorry about that.
What else would you expect from a liberal?
Hey, leave my man alone.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. That was trouble. Oh, man. You guys are really going first rate right off, huh? Okay. I'll be ready.
Hey,
Let me get my
Ted.
pacifier first.
Did you see the 35,000 people in the Bronx to watch the great one tonight?
It's a scam.
You wish it was.
Who is the great one?
I got 81 million votes.
Who is the great one? You have to laugh. You can't say what the great one is.
Okay, panelists, please remember to try to stay centered. People on Zoom, please remember, if you do not have your video on, your audio doesn't help us a lot, because the point is for us to you to pop up and for us to see you on that. So having your video on is very helpful. Oh, it's the good doctor himself. Adamola, how are you, sir? Always good to see you, Adamola. Good to see
Thank
you.
you very much. Good to see you too.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, Dr. Adamola.
So the video stuff is important just so that we're able to get those pop-ins. If you guys have been watching the after party, they've been a lot of fun, but during the show, the behind the scenes part of the show, we've been popping in people. And last time we had Ollie, I believe. We had Don a lot. Ted, a whole lot came in during the last show. I do believe had a lot of violent remarks or constructive criticism to put in. And that turned out quite entertaining. So
Is there a chat feature on this, Joe Boy?
I have disabled it.
Ah,
Yeah, there you are, Michelle. Uh-oh. There you are.
Yeah, she's there.
Joe
You're
Boy,
good.
you
Yes,
can't
Michelle.
listen to me without a chat. Where's no chat? Come on, Joe Boy.
There's a chat on Zoom.
The problem is with the chat, it becomes a lot laggier, and I care about the video and audio far better to get a quality production than you all chatting with each other.
Well, but on the peanut, hey, Ted, on the peanut gallery, there is a chat feature.
Fun.
Don't worry about it. I'm just giving Joe Boy a hard time.
Michelle, you're not getting what?
Michelle, can you hear us? Oh, can't hear.
You just muted yourself, Michelle, whatever you did.
You muted yourself. Anybody know sign language? Okay, hold on.
We can't hear you, Michelle.
Not.
Wait, okay, Michelle, can you hear me?
Now we got it.
Now we can hear you.
We
can you hear me?
Fine.
Listen, I'm gonna go out and then I'm gonna come back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try.
As you can tell, Tony,
That's what
with
he said.
your guest, it's considerably harder to get going.
Yeah, but this time we should have our start time at 6:05. It should work.
But at least it's entertaining.
So how many
I'm
else
very
coming in?
amused.
Anybody else
Always
coming in
entertaining.
there, Donna?
And
Yeah,
poor
can
Ed,
you guys hear me?
like, is this what I have to
Yeah,
look
we can
forward
hear you,
to?
Don.
Okay, good.
But anybody else coming in?
Nobody coming in right now.
Okay.
Michelle, can you hear me?
No, I'm good. I'm not getting. Yeah.
Can you
I'm
hear me,
not getting
Michelle?
phoned.
We
Why am I not getting sound?
It may be the speakers on your
okay, hold on.
text her.
Yeah,
I don't have her
yeah,
info.
yeah.
It may be her sound on her computer or text on her sound on her computer.
Well, that Commodore 64, you think it'd do better.
I think she's a Mac.
I know. Bob, I'm.
No, we can hear you
I'm
fine. Hold
calling
on.
you.
Hold on.
I'm gonna call you.
Joe Boy, here. See.
What? You want me to talk to her?
Of course. Well, you're going to talk technical. See if she answers. If she answers, I'm calling her.
Hi, Michelle. How are you? It's Joe Boy. It's not
Oh,
Bob.
Joe Boy, like, why am I not getting any sound or nothing? What's going on?
I'm assuming it's something on your computer where you are not giving out sound because we can hear you just fine. You
Oh,
can't hear
so-
us.
No,
So
I
it's
can't hear you
your
at all.
speakers on your side.
How do I do this?
Again, you'll have to check. I don't know if are you Windows or Mac?
No, I'm Mac.
I'm sorry. So now that we know
Up
that
in
you
Mac.
now that we
So I know I'm gonna pop off on Mac. Good grief.
can you double check that your audio and speakers are turned on?
You know what? You're a genius. Look at you. Oh, Joe
I know,
boy.
it's a tough one.
Oh.
100 an hour, isn't it?
You can hear us now?
Send you a Christmas gift now. When's your birthday?
Joe, there's still
July
a problem.
28th.
There's still a
July
problem with her
All right.
camera.
I'm gonna have to
because-
remember that, Joe boy. Thank you very much.
Okay, will do.
What's that, Ollie?
I said there's a problem with her camera because it's showing her hair as straight.
I know. Her hair is very straight this time, so there's got to
You
be
know
a
what?
problem with the camera.
Confuse you guys. I'm trying to throw you off your game, so I'm trying to get a
Still looking good though.
advantage.
There goes Dawn, always saying how great you look.
I know. I was like, "Where's Dawn? Tell him I have to put on my lipstick."
Yeah, Dawn's got to talk about how great she looks. Oh my goodness.
All right, so I
All right,
guess
and
y'all
I'm
been
turning
getting
this
the panelists have been getting Joe Boy's notes and things, and we've been talking a lot. So we're just going to try to have as best fun as we can. Remember, when you are side by side with somebody, that's the time if you want to ask them questions or have that conversation with the people. Okay.
Okay.
So we want to try to have that, and then of course we're all going to try to be briefer, including me. Joe Boy, are you ready to start?
We're getting there, Bob. We are getting everyone to be brief is awesome idea. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, we got Tiberius behind me. Wave your hand, Tiberius.
Oh,
So he's the one making sure your clock is good. Okay.
babe.
So when he's well fed, your times will be correct. And when he's happy, your times will be correct. And he would log how long you talk and so forth.
Tell him if he's unhappy that he will add extra time.
Are you gonna take time for me?
So he will
I'm
make
like,
sure you don't get overtime.
I'll join you next time, baby. What's your Venmo?
I'm going to, what's his Venmo? Wow. I am going to adjust the Zoom now, Dawn. I'm going to mute myself from the Zoom. In other words, you can still hear me, but I won't be able to hear you. So that's very important. Tiberius, you need to pay attention. If he mutes me, that you can bring that back. Welcome to the Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists today are Michelle Walters, Ted Johnson, Ed Roberts, and Johnny Dunn. And now, your host, Bob Phipps.
Welcome, everyone, to the show where we try to give people the time to talk and we also try to listen. But, we're learning. We started out on this thing, quite a few years ago, the concept of could we actually get reasonable people, regular people, together and actually have a conversation? Oh, my God, what an idea. And we've got 4 wonderful people here today that are willing to talk about something maybe they don't even know that much about, but they're going to learn, aren't they? And they've learned maybe preparing for the show and stuff like that. And we've got a Zoom. We've got a peanut gallery that's watching and is going to be able to comment. So whether you're watching this thing live or you're watching it on tape, hopefully what you're going to see is people that are just trying to get together, because we are so divided these days that, let's face it, we've got 2 horrible, we'll just not get into the names, but we've got some hard choices to make. But here's what I know. We can get together. We are so close on most issues if we just sit and talk about them. So we're going to use our Uber discourse method of not referring to any particular politician. And we're going to talk about elections. We're going to talk about the upcoming election, and we're going to talk about everything other than like walk-in voting. So we're going to talk mail-in voting, and we're going to talk absenteeism, and or absentee voting, and we're going to see what we can agree upon. I think we're going to find some stuff. Enjoy the ride. We'll see you right after our break.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs.
Okay, you guys can talk during the break time.
New cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with.
Everybody doing okay?
Or the only cigars grown right here.
Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, you gotta
good.
turn your mics on so you can speak. You can speak during the break time. So
cigar experience.
How long is the break time?
So
1 minute.
At coronacigar.com.
But if you
So
go
anybody
over,
can talk?
yeah, anybody can talk.
Shooting
Or make a comment.
All right, I have a question. I have a comment. With the election, was something changed last year that if you moved, you have to, you know, put your information back in?
Always.
Every year it's like that?
When you move, yes.
Well, you move, but if you haven't moved and you've been stationary, I heard that they changed it, that you have to register every year whether you move or not.
All right, we're back. We've got a couple of really experienced panelists. We've got some people that have kind of just started to be on the show or whatever. But what I'd like to start with now, Ted, you are our most experienced panelist. I know Johnny's right there also. We always needed someone. I mean, here you are from San Francisco. You've got a great background. You're a writer, all of these other things. And there's one thing I know about you, Ted. You've always got an opinion. Why the ever-loving heck could anybody have a problem with absentee or mail-in voting?
I think it's just a matter of people not liking the outcome. There's a demographic shift in this country going on in very many ways. Many more people from diverse backgrounds are involved. More importantly, commercially, or even just the way people live. They're on the road more, and mail-in balloting is needed. On top of which, especially in traffic, or in my commute, if I go across the Bay Area, I don't want to come back and try to find my polling place. It may be closed because I got stuck on the Bay Bridge. Mail-in ballots answer a lot of questions.
Perfect. Johnny, you have a response for that? Your opening comments on this?
Well, look, I think we are going to find some common ground tonight. And one of the things that this nation needs is healing. And the divisiveness is to a tipping point. And I don't think it would completely solve the problem. But if we have a fully secure election where voter IDs were looked at, absentee ballots were only handed out in very specific situations like the olden times, and everyone leaves this election feeling very, very comfortable with the result because we had a very secure election, I think it could do worlds for the healing. And the fact of the matter is, France banned mail-in voting a long time ago, 1975, because the chain of command is just far too extensive with that.
All right.
There's
Well,
way
that's
more Biden votes.
let's
It's just
Michelle.
way too fast. The chain of
Michelle,
command.
No, I mean,
guys agree with that?
I think that with regards to the mail-in voting, though, especially with regards to the 2020 election and the coronavirus, it created an environment to where a lot of people didn't want to go out, where the number of increase with regards to mail-in absentee voting, the non-traditional aspects of voting increased dramatically. So now it's just a matter of trying to, decipher on what's the most pragmatic way on putting everything on an equal playing field. And what my hope and goal is to see it won't happen in this particular election, but maybe somewhere in the future, is to be able to have a unified division all the way across the board on how our federal elections are going to be conducted all across the states, because there's just too many laws.
Excellent. Ed, your opening thoughts.
Well, I think mail is incredibly secure. So you're putting everybody's vote out there for anything. I agree that people can become disenfranchised. There's a lot of things that go in that, and there's a convenience factor in mailing. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that if it can be secured. We found truckloads full of ballots in these mail trucks in the trash. So clearly, it's called the news. It's called the news. All you gotta do is All you gotta do
Tell a story.
I gotta finish. Let me finish. All you gotta do is I can give you a list of sites, but I'm not going to do the work for you because you don't want the work anyway. You don't want the information.
That's
you
not
just want
true.
the opinion. I'm telling you right now, there's at least 31 sites right now with proven pictures and documentation from the post office's own website. But other than that, there's no truth.
Well, one of the things that we do just before we start
What do you guys think about
back, is on the third side, there will be follow-up here.
Speak.
And I guarantee you that emails might be back and forth on some of this stuff because we can't always solve everything in this half hour. Ted, but do you want to go on and respond to that?
There's been no proof.
I think there are isolated instances where some mail ballots got confused. There was one outside Detroit. A mailman, I think, was responsible for it. Johnny last week sent me an example of 3,000 ballots getting counted twice in Georgia. So instead of winning by 14,000 votes, the winner of the 2020 election only won by 11,000 votes in Georgia. Yes, there are minor mix-ups, and they've all been accounted for, and a lot of them have been adjudicated, and that's why the election stands.
But there's the problem with that is that I have no problem with the mail-in voting if it can be secured and, as Michelle said, uniformed. Because right now it can be lost. You can disenfranchise a bunch of people depending on how you put them in a position, depending on who they go through. There's no control of it. It's almost like the voter ID.
That's funny because the loser of the 2020 election got 7 million more votes than he did in 2016.
Well, we just went through we can go through an election cycle where you can go through a number of precincts where they still have 50, I can't give you the exact number, so I won't even quote it, but a huge number of deceased voters that are still voting.
Again, I doubt that greatly.
Really? Well, then it's a matter of number. Would be a matter. Well, let's just ask Ted. Didn't you agree that there are isolated instances of these things? And Ed, you agree that there's lots of instances. So is it a matter of degree we're talking about here, possibly?
I don't think it's degree. I think it's control. Because anytime you add complexity to any system, it becomes fraught with failure. I don't care what the system is. There's no system that the more complex you make it, the better it is and the more it serves the people. It won't serve the people. It never does.
And there are people who believe that mail-in ballot simplifies the process because they can be counted before the day of the election or they count after the election. If there's one thing I would like to see more than anything with mail-in ballots that get there before election day. After the poll closes,
don't delay the count.
Those counts go right away.
That is one of the downsides.
Good point. Great personal example. When I moved to where I moved to, somebody had a mail-in vote that wasn't mine, that was mailed to me for them. All I had to do is put it in the wrong way, send it back. That was their vote. So they were disenfranchised just like that.
Yeah, but you signed it and you had to, you would have had to break the law and stuff like that. Michelle, why don't let's get Michelle and Johnny in here. We've had yes. Michelle, what are you?
No. What I wanted to sit there and stipulate, though, is, there's always going to be a margin of error, though, with regards to whatever tactic, whatever methods what we want to be able to implement. The hard part about it, though, is, we haven't been able to sit there and find a conclusive formula on any of this. And unfortunately, though, a lot of times, though, with regards to the right, they're implementing so many different policies and rules and regulations that are really narrowing the ability and the capabilities of some of the people on being able to get to vote. They're having their votes discounted and disqualified by some of these really kind of redundant, in my opinion.
When we get to, Michelle, we've got to take a break now, but when we get to some specific voting laws and things, we'll have to revisit some of this because I know that at times. So we're going to go on and take our next break now, and we will be back, and Johnny, we'll be starting with you when we get back.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Okay, there was a glitch there. Something happened.
Yeah, good to hear, Michelle.
I've got a suggestion, national holiday for voting and everybody with a purple finger.
That's a good point.
That'd be great if we can come together and say, have that. But the powers to do don't want that. I think we, in an environment where, we've advanced so much that we should make voting simplified. It should be simplified. Other countries are doing it in a simplified fashion. But every day we're making it harder for ourselves. And I'm for, if you go to vote, you have to be vetted. You have to show an ID. You can't tell me that,
not easy. Yeah.
But it's like, if you want to vote, then get an ID. So
yeah, I'm in Houston.
And say, yeah, because.
So Johnny, I know you come from a more conservative side, and what have you read and studying up for this mainly that as you're feeling on this whole thing? It sounds like you're actually coming around to where mail-in voting might make sense because it does. There is a paper trail at least. That is one advantage to it.
Yes.
Look, I would be willing to concede that mail-in voting can be a workable solution as long as there was none of this BS like in the last election where things could come in non-postmarked and no stamps, and they could have just showed up any other time. And, just talking about, and look, I really, truly decided to come on here today and not be hostile. And I want to find common ground, but, Ted's statement was ridiculous about convenience, because anytime in life that some stuff is important, like the presidential election is important, if it's really important to you, you find time to do it. And convenience doesn't make its way
It's not a matter
into
of
the equation. It's a
it's not
ridiculous
a matter of
statement.
convenience.
And Johnny, what about the military people then? What do they do when they're in?
No,
There's
I
stations
have
around the world.
absolutely no problem with military people doing absentee balloting. 100%. It
What do you
has
gotta
to
think of
happen.
that?
How about
But
people
John,
who based in
in
corporate
in
companies
drop
around the
boxes.
world, Singapore and London? What about those?
Look, I have no problem.
No excuse. Ask him that.
It is fine in certain circumstances, but there can't be.
Who's going to make that rule?
Exactly.
The Democrats.
Look, I have my doubts if possible, but I would be open to it. But you can't have drop boxes with people just randomly dropping mail in. Anyone who thinks that's a good idea, they're just not thinking right. Think about this, Ted. Which political party wanted to have vaccine ID passports, but they don't have to have it for voting? I mean, that is just, it's just ridiculous.
Well, we kind of hey, Johnny, we kind of legislated that last week. Last week, our wonderful panel kind of agreed on the voter ID. And so I understand what you're saying. And there is probably, Ted admits there's fraud out there. I guess the question is just the amount of it is still it's really a matter of degree that we're listening to, right?
Is scale of
error?
Fraud as important as the fact that fraud is baked into the system because there's no way of checking it? That's my problem. I don't care how we do it. Just as long as we can confirm that we're doing it and it's fair across the board. Mailing a ballot is about the most insane thing in the world, because somebody could stand outside, they steal checks out of mail. I mean, mail is, I do priority mail, I still can't get it there sometimes. So if you move, there's too much in there that doesn't let people really say, I voted, I saw it go here, I know my vote counted. None. There's no way.
No, I mean, there's not necessarily, and like I said, when it comes to mail-in voting, there's always going to necessarily be like a margin of error. My concern comes into is with regards to all of these lawsuits and these different stipulations that are coming in and basically saying, oh, well, you know what, you know what I mean, these weren't certified because this didn't have a notarization, or this didn't have this, or this didn't have this. So therefore, all of these ballots are being automatically thrown out. So therefore, they're not being counted. They're just plain not being counted because there's so many various different lawsuits that are going out. I mean, how many lawsuits are out there that with regards to mail-in voting? I don't even know if I can necessarily count them. So it's how do we sit there? And again, I mean, there's going to be a margin of error, but at least where can we find a balance and a common?
Well, let me know when Mike Lindell pays the $5 million he promised the person to find a fake voter, because he got found in court that the guy did find him, and it was a Republican who did it. And Mike hasn't paid off on that yet. I wonder why.
Johnny, you can speak if you want.
That's funny.
Well, look, everybody is acknowledging so far there is margin for error, and there are problems. That is common ground we have found. And that's why, to take a step in the direction of healing, it needs to be we vote in person.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this then. Are you willing to entertain the concept of having a holiday, you know what I mean? Having
100%.
We can all say,
yeah, we need to do it, and we need to do it right.
I agree.
And that would be doing it right. But we need to show up with a valid ID,
being able to take a day off
do it in
the
person.
pollsters and having a full day. Anybody who can vote, they do. Anybody who can't, you know what I mean? Obviously, with regards to, are you looking for stricter guidelines though with regards to, you know what I mean, absentee voting or, voting early or whatever the case might be?
I think we decided last week, I'd go 30 days within a range. Again, I want some trackability and accountability. The process is not relevant to me, whatever that can be. I'm flexible to that. But just mailing something in is, that's asinine. It's just asinine. Because
all right, let's do some scale here. Let's say 3 million votes across the country.
The military.
were fraudulent. 3 million out of 160 million. So that's like what?
That's 3 million people disenfranchised.
Okay, just listen. Let's say it was fraudulent, misassigned, duplicated, whatever the case may be. If there was 300 people who could do that, how many ballots would they each have to do to get that amount up? It's like 20,000. I'll even do the math. The point is 20,000 ballots you'd have to alter yourself, and you have 100 or 300 other people do 20,000 ballots.
You're coming up with
who's going to keep that? So how does that become a secret? How do people hold it together? How's it organized? Where did they get it from?
I didn't say it was organized. I said it was fraud. Fraud is not organized.
The point is, the discussion of steal the election.
I never said steal.
Somebody else did.
I put that as a topic, even though I wasn't planning on revisiting the last election.
I'm not going to revisit it. The point
I got it.
But
I see what you're saying. You see what you're saying. It just
doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, that's the scary thing about if we ever did electronic, right? Now, did some of y'all actually look into the state of Washington election? Because the state of Washington is 100% mail-in now. So they don't have the fun of going down there, but they have, over the last decade or so, apparently put together a pretty daggum secure system. Did anybody see anything downsides to that?
And the thing about it, they're not going to go back.
There's any
right.
I guess substantial evidence that proves either way. So,
right.
But I do it based on just empirical information that if you can't mail something with 100% security, which we know we can't, and even one vote lost, no matter whose vote it is. And if someone opportunity does not chase something down, or how do I know that if I did mail it in, even on an absentee, it actually got counted? There's no way. So how does my vote even recognized to me or anyone else? It's not. So it's so easy to be manipulated. But I'm all in favor of anything that can get everyone's vote to count 100% even. One vote, one person, period. I don't care how you do it. Do it by thumb, do it in person, do it from space, I don't care.
So are we saying that it looks like we're not arguing the fact we don't want a lot of people to vote? I know that's the argument sometimes. So we're saying that we want everybody to vote. We want it to be secure. Yes. I know that there was an issue in the last election where it was something about, or just the concern is when they mailed out ballots. Johnny, you're not saying you're for anybody who's out of town or out on work or military or whatever, right? To be able to absentee ballot, right? Anybody that's out. Okay, it was just when they wholesale, you told me it was the wholesale mailing of those ballots that you had an issue with.
You have to sign up to get a ballot.
My granddad got a ballot last time and he had been dead a year.
Okay. But again,
there's lots of people who got left on the ballots. They voted before they died. They're still on the ballots. That's what happens. And people will check the rolls and say, hey, this guy's dead. They have cross checks afterwards. They take the counts off. That's why it takes 3 or 4 days to get a final count.
Yeah.
And it says no.
They've just done purges in a number of counties across the country for dead people.
Hey, well, it looks like we've gotten together more than most people. Ted, we're going to have to take another break, but we've gotten together more than most people have, guys. We're getting some agreement here. All right, let's take our last break. We'll be right back.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's brand new.
Donald, what I've been posting is basically the research that I've done before to find out what the reality was. So out of all of the cases in all of the states, in 2014, for example, in Washington, they found 31 instances of impersonation. And also in 2016, they found 4 documented cases of voter fraud. So
good point.
It's just not there. I mean, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley originally, and we've been talking about dead voters, and for many years, my ex-husband ran for mayor, and I could have sworn some dead voters voted, but it doesn't really hold water when it comes to the amount of millions of votes that he wanted to disenfranchise, and the majority of them were people of color. That's the reality.
I agree with you, and it's like they keep saying these, and so far.
Again, we've got some agreement here, and not without a little bit of emotion, but that's necessary. Here we are on this show trying to get together and change the way we've been talking about politics for years. So some of these things I expect there are going to be, like I said, some follow-ups on these things. But we're going to put you on the hourglass now. So you're going to be on a 30-second clock. And what I want y'all to do is just give me something that you believe the other side believes that actually does make sense, okay? I know it's going to be a little tougher for Johnny and for Ted, but Ted, let's go on and start you on the clock right now. And you tell me something that the other side said you agree with. Go.
The other side agree with? Johnny and I agree on voter ID. I have no problems with that, but you have to give ID to get a ballot, mail-in ballot. The one thing I want to agree, and I think some of us agreed, I think all ballots that when they come in at the time of the polls close should be counted. So even ballots mailed 2 years earlier, those counts should be happening now, not a week after the poll closing.
Excellent. Okay, Ed.
Good point.
I agree with all his points, exactly the same. Mine still just comes back to accountability, traceability, and repeatability. Any system needs that, or else it's fraught to failure. I mean, we have how many hundreds of voting laws in place right now that still haven't gotten us anywhere. Adding more probably isn't going to make it any better, but finding a system that works, narrowing everything down, making it consistent. I think Michelle agrees with that across the board. That I want everyone's vote to count.
All right, well, we're gonna let Michelle speak for herself. How did you? I know when you went into this topic, right? You were wondering about it. Go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and when my conclusion though came to is I think that on a federal level, again, though, I'm hoping that at least we can come to a consensus on trying to be able to federally mandate a universal program that's going to be across all the states. I think that we can at least come to the same the conclusion with regards to, voter identification, or some type of cross-checking though with regards to your last 4 digits of your social security number. I think that if we all have an alignment though with regards to the number of, the qualifications with regards to pre-voting, the number of days, to be submitted, and some of the other qualifications. I think that we can come to a meeting of the minds.
Got it. Johnny.
Three things. I agree with the left side that we want to have free and fair elections. I also agree that they agree that there has been fraud in the past. Now, I don't remember if it was Bob that said it or Michelle, but I'm a business owner, and I would happily give my team time off to go and vote because we need to heal this nation and have a very authentic, no doubt about it, election.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, one thing to consider that.
Yes.
One thing I think people might be overlooking, not to dominate it real quick, but in places like Wyoming and South Dakota, North Dakota, they're the least populated areas in the country. And you have very few people. A lot of these small towns of 400 to 800, they don't have polling places. Yeah. They may have to drive 25 miles to get to a polling place. So that's why mail-in voting really helps in those areas.
Right.
But I think it would be nice to be able to sit there, and if you have an extensive, long journey, to be able to have the ability to vote, to be able to, have the day off to where that this is your designated day, to where you can sit there and plan and, set up conditions for babysitting or whatever the case might be. Mm-hmm. So you do have the capability of being able to go and vote, and you don't have the burdens of saying, oh, well, I have to work, or this is going on with me, or this is going on with me. I think that it would be very nice.
Well, you're all kind of agreeing on that. In fact, last week, Ed, on our part 1 of the kind of voting show, you wanted 30 days. You didn't have a problem with limiting the number of days. I guess what frustrates me is the left and the right have this vision of what the other person believes. The left believes that the right is trying to limit people from voting, to disenfranchise people, and the right believes that the left's trying to, fraudulently have people vote. But yet when we sit and talk about it, we seem to have agreement. Why the ever-loving heck? Anybody give me some good ideas as to why the heck they want to divide us? I know this goes outside of the voting issue, but it's more what the show's about. Ted, why are they trying to divide us?
I don't know. Are they dividing us or are they warning us? I mean, the federal government has already warned they're stepping up protections of possible reactions to voting issues caused by certain publications or periodicals or broadcasts. Right. I mean, when they're saying they're stepping up precautions because of threats. Yeah. You got to take it seriously.
Yeah, but are they? I don't know. Sometimes we make up the threats. I mean, you certainly believe that people on the right are making up the seriousness, Ed, the seriousness of what fraud actually has gone on.
Well, again, I don't put, right now, I don't have a whole lot of strength or favor with any bureaucracy because bureaucracies have shown their ability to produce very low results in any case. And whether it's, and some people favor, I say they use they have a benevolent heart, but all tyranny begins in benevolence. And so we have to be aware that maybe the system doesn't work because it doesn't, or else we wouldn't even be talking about this. It's just how are we going to fix it? Adding more system to it probably isn't the fix.
Well, the problem is the system's made up of people, and that's always a problem.
Absolutely,
Johnny,
though.
Yeah, what's that, Michelle?
Oh, no, I was going to say, my personal opinion, though, on this is with regards to both people on being on such polar opposite, it creates such a division, almost kind of like I feel like with regards to racism. And when you create such a divide, it creates a sense of fear, uncertainty, to where it makes people vulnerable into certain ideologies.
Right.
And to be able to sit there and bring people together and combine them with regards to a common unity, it defeats that. It completely defeats that. And unfortunately, though, I think that with regards to our political climate and our news and this and that, I mean,
Right.
rhetoric and all of that.
Well, hey, Michelle, that's why we're trying to
do.
do this. Johnny, you're going to get the last word here. Trying to bring people together because it seems like they don't want to. Johnny.
I totally agree. Fear sells, and that's what the media is in the business of, is selling fear, having you scared, having you feel less than, and then boom, they show you a commercial and they have something to sell you that allows that feeling to go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll urge y'all when the topic comes up, and Michelle, you were talking about there going to be some voting regulations, there's going to be all sorts of talk about that before the election. I would encourage y'all to dig into it and see if they're pulling out particular points and exacerbating the issue, be it the fraud issue, be it the whatever issue. I can tell you that the headlines that are out there aren't always true to the story that's there and the laws that they're trying to do. We've got 4 reasonable people here. Ted, you were exceptional today. Michelle, we're glad we got you on. And Ed and Johnny, I'm so glad to have you all on to just attempt to get together on stuff. And dadgummit, we did it again. Who knows? Regular people can agree. Thank you so much for another episode of Third Side Combo. And now we will actually go to the peanut gallery. We'll see y'all later.